What's going on, brothers and sisters? Welcome to the Mucus-free Life Podcast, episode 29. And we have a dazzling show for you today. This is something that I've been wanting to do literally for years. I tried to put one of these together around 2008 and then another in 2011. For some reason, it never came together. But today on the program, we are going to have a mucus-free women's panel. We're going to be talking about issues related to women's health, the menstrual cycle, pregnancy, relationships, and anything else that comes up. And so if you have questions or would like to contribute, as always, please share your comments and we will get to what we can when we can. And go ahead and give this video a share and a like. That helps us out. That helps give us, get us on out here. And so yeah, let's without further ado, let me introduce you to the panel. And let's see, without further ado, let me introduce you. All right. Let's see. Okay, so first, introduce you to Mama Tekoa. Everybody give it up. See, I feel like it's alive. Like we on stage. Give it up for Mama Tekoa.
Hey.
And
hi.
We got Andreas and Can.
Hello.
We have Kyrene. Give it up for Kyrene.
Hi.
And we got Ayana over here taking care of some hair. So real briefly, I will go around the panel and I'll let everybody introduce themselves, and then we'll kind of get going here. So let's start with Mama Tekoa. Go ahead and introduce yourself, how you got into the Mucusless diet, and just a little bit about where you are from.
Ashe. Born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio. Hospital, Bethesda. Born in 1962. I'm almost 100. I'll be 140 years. I came into the Mucusless diet upon the request of my brother, Victor Bertram. And from there, I studied and began to put the works into action, became a little bit more serious as I started having children. My fourth child led me on the path of more discipline. And then with my fifth child, I was fully engaged in the Mucusless Diet Healing System. And it has been one of the best and most effective ways to being a woman and having healthy children. I have 5 daughters and I adopted a son, and he himself is I don't know if he's still doing it now, but at the time he's practicing Mucusless Diet Healing System because he lived with me for like 7 years of his life. So I'm going to pass the mic on to the next panelist.
All right, Andrea.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Andrea. I'm 25 years old. I'm here in Los Angeles. I'm originally from Romania, but I've lived here since I was 6. I kind of started getting into the mucusless diet, lifestyle, raw vegan juicing world a little over a year ago. I've been vegan for 5 years, so it kind of started back then, but not nowhere near where I am today. And I'll go into the whole story a little bit later, but I had some reproductive health issues in 2019, which led me to this lifestyle. And that's when I started juicing and eating more of a raw vegan diet and kind of overcame a lot of health issues with my menstrual cycles. And that's when I started my page on Instagram and kind of just started sharing my story and connecting with so many amazing people with similar stories and just kind of overcoming a bunch of health issues. So that's me. That's how I kind of started. And yeah.
Awesome.
All right, beautiful. Thank you. And Kyrene, introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kyrene. I'm born and raised in New York City. I'm currently living in Puerto Rico. I switched to a vegan diet back in December of 2017. Then after that, I started a fruit fast for 30 days. And that's when I found the Mucusless Diet Healing System. I started the diet right after the fruit fast, and around that time, I read Rational Fasting and also the Mucusless Diet
Yes.
Healing System book. And it was just really transformational for me. Before going vegan, I was experiencing some like kidney pain, some like low back pain, and I just wasn't feeling good. I was feeling really tired and weak, and I just really wanted to take ownership of my health and make the switch, and yeah, and I ever since then I just pretty much been trying to eat as much raw fruits and veggies as possible, and also but still transitioning and sort of going back and forth. But yeah, since I moved to Puerto Rico back in 2018, September. So since being here, I feel like I have really improved my health because I've been able to juice more, eat more of the local fruits and vegetables, and it's been great. Also sunbathing and just like breathing and getting into breath work. So it's my story.
All right. And this is your Instagram.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Now we'll introduce everybody's Instagram. Here. All right. Ayana, introduce yourself.
All right, my name is Ayana, and for those who don't know, my mom is in the chat right now, Takoa. So I was pretty much born and raised in the mucus lean diet. However, when I got into my teen years, I decided I wanted to go and eat stuff I wasn't supposed to. So I became vegetarian and experienced that. Noticed it didn't really benefit me health-wise, physically, mentally, or anything like that. So I decided to
Get back
venture
right.
out. Yeah, I got back right a little bit, and then I went to a whole nother state and decided that, oh, maybe it's cheaper if I eat this way. So I went into eating fish for about 6 months. And it just dawned on me like I'm eating something with eyes and something that's live. So
Right.
I just stopped eating that altogether, just because it wasn't part of my lifestyle growing up. So why do
Something
it?
that was dead.
Right. So I stopped eating fish, but I was vegetarian, eating
I
dairy
had no
products
clue.
and whatnot. Eating dairy products and whatnot. So I stopped eating
that
dairy
was hit
products.
for me. You still getting a bow up.
I can attest to that. She did not know anything that I was eating. And I stopped eating dairy products once I met my husband, because he was vegan. So I was like, oh, wow, I guess that's a sign. He's vegan. He wasn't raised vegan. He was only vegan for probably about 2 or 3 years. So he was like, you don't need to be eating stuff like that. I was like, all right, mama number 2 here. All right, I'm going to start eating it.
I said, I want to talk to this person. I don't know who you're talking to. And I said, if you can't reason with my daughter, if you don't take enemas and clean your butt. And he was like,
he actually took an enema to be with me.
He was a whole
There you go. That's
I ain't playing about no
that's
your body.
That's an ancient. That's that ancient. Like, you gotta come to Mama Takora and she's gonna give you a test.
That's real.
You gotta pass that.
Yeah, that was like
how we get our boyfriends. We took them to Mama.
That was a real eye opener, because the person I was with before was not even vegan at all. not vegetarian. And I
He's an
committed to
animal.
myself that the next time I be with somebody, they go be on the same level I am, if not higher, which was exactly what I got. I got what I asked for. And been vegan ever since. So we did completely mucus free with my first child, and we've been like mucus lean / mucus free here and there. Been on the roller coaster, but have not, went back to the dairy or the meat or anything like that.
Right. That's what's up, and thank you for sharing that. And that's the thing, that to be real, because we're gonna try to be as real as we can here, because everybody, I always say, it's not a if you relapse, when you relapse. No one in this community likes to talk about that. They don't like to be honest about that. Everybody has a different relapse experience, but that's why I always encourage and say to focus on practice of the system, the Mucusless Diet Healing System. It's not, you have to be 100% this or that. It's not a food list that you have to like genuflect to and worship. It's a system, and you do it and practice it to the best of your ability in whatever situation you're in at the time. So I appreciate you sharing that story, because that's going to help people, so they don't, as I say all the time, don't feel guilty. Don't be beating yourself up when you fall off the wagon. That's part of this process.
And I can say, when you do that, when you do beat yourself up, you kind of make the situation worse for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And someone told me, it's like, if you go do it, enjoy it while you're doing it, but don't make it into a habit.
Mm-hmm.
Do it, and then you get right back onto what you're supposed to be doing. Because when you make yourself feel bad about it, then it's like, oh man, you delve into it and you do it even more. You do it even excessive.
That's true.
Yeah. The energy level starts going low, and you get grabbed.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's my testimony so far.
All right. Thank you. Well, we're gonna come back to you, because we want to hear about what that was like, being raised by Mama Takora growing up.
I was hungry. I was hungry all the time.
They got a song about it. My nieces and nephews, they got a song about coming over to my house. Can I get some roast beef? Can I get some tofu? Can I get some?
That's not how the song went.
They was just going ham. I was like, who made that song up? And they all sat around and made the song up. Called a starvation camp. I was like, okay, I can attest to not feeding them garbage.
They always had fun when they came over, but one thing that they didn't like was that they was hungry. They wanted to come over to have fun, but they didn't.
That's what the parasites.
They didn't want to stay long.
Eating parasites is eating the food up out the body, so they crave junk. So with being 25 and 30, 35 or 30, a little bit over 30, that time for me, I had children at those ages. So that created more discipline for me. The mucusless diet did.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, let's stay with that, since we kind of talk. We talking in that vein. Talk a little bit about that experience of being pregnant and in the different times, whatever you were doing. I know you were different levels of diet with some of your different pregnancies. So just talk a little bit about that, what that was like, what kind of stuff you were eating, if you was, cleansing or herbs or whatever you were doing. Kind of talk a little bit about that, and then maybe a few words about midwifery, or the importance of that. Everybody should probably know about that instead of going to the health spittles. Can we create a word today? Instead of hospital, health spittle.
I like that.
So Mama Takora.
For my first birth, during the 80s, I was reading Dick Gregory's Cooking with Mother Nature. And that is the first time I basically, decided to transition to a more stricter regimen as far as eating. Being a Hebrew Israelite, we had certain guidelines about what meat was clean and what meat wasn't. So studying about Haile Selassie, and a lot of brothers and sisters, especially men that were Rastas, they would tell us, you know, eating the flesh of animals is not God's way, you know, and but yet some of them still ate fish. Now I only met two live food eaters. That was Scion Success and when I knew Victor Bertram first. He was the first one that I met. He's a saxophone player. And I mean, just amazing, this brother. I mean, I talked to Vic today, and this is, you know, his frequency is just really off the chain. And he told me, he said that we're light beings and we're not going to be in these bodies. When we transition, we're going to, you know, ascend. But I'm still learning what ascension looks like and feels like. So during my first childbearing, I gave up a lot of things. I stopped using ganja, marijuana. I didn't stop completely, but I stopped, you know, using it excessively because I didn't know what it would do to my child. And I stopped drinking beer, which was supposed to be the cleanest beer at the time, which was Bush beer. I stopped using that, and I ate a lot of fruit. Plums was my biggie. We had relatives that had a small garden in their backyard in Evanston. And basically, pretty much everybody at the time back in the 70s and 80s, they probably will have some kind of fruit tree in their yards. You don't see that today. You know, you might find pines and juniper and other indigenous trees. However, fruit trees were more accessible then. And so I ate a lot of fruit, and the herbs that I used were to strengthen my uterus. Bayberry bark, and I used raspberry herbs.
Oh, yeah.
And when the child was coming, I wanted to have my child at home. So I had 3 midwives, 4 in all. One was training. And the midwife that helped to bring my oldest daughter here, she herself was heavily into herbs. And so the herbs, they are very, very powerful depending on, you know, how you use them. Because I use them all the time. I drink herbs all the time, you know. And she came, the navel cord was around her neck. They told me to stop pushing. I did. And this midwife had no teachings from anybody with a degree. She was basically a novice, self-taught. She took her finger and stuck it between the neck and the navel cord. She pulled the navel cord, and the baby's head swirled in a circle and came out the cord. Now, at the time, the father, my child's father, had come in. He was traumatized. He never, ever wanted to see that again. As a matter of fact, my second birth, I prepared everything, had the child at home. He took me to the hospital, and a European male, a young doctor, delivered my second child. I felt very embarrassed because he saw my naked body, and I kept telling him that I couldn't have another man look upon my body because, you know, I'm all religious then. You know, I'm kind of into this, you know, cycle where I'm protecting myself and my body and my baby from the stranger. And so when I had her, she was born with, they said, chlamydia in her eyes. And they asked me, had I ever had a venereal disease? And I was like, no. So the chlamydia could have been attracted from someone who helped deliver the baby. And I didn't have a clue. I didn't know. So they put drops in her eyes because they said she would have been born blind had we not had her there at the hospital. But that's not, to me, a fact. She had at the top of her head, they put a monitor inside of my body. The doctor put his hand in my womb and put some kind of machine on her head. So when she was born, she had a dent. You could feel it felt like a cardboard in the top of her head. And he had obviously pressed it too hard because, the cranium is real sensitive coming through a wound.
Mhm.
So that part of her head didn't heal for about like 5 or 6 months because it stayed soft at the top of her head. Well, I don't know. They could have put a racket trip in there. I don't know. But I decided I wasn't having any more children in the hospital, and I put my foot down to this man, this Roston. Third child, I did everything I did with the first and the second one. I was prepared, and I had her on January 15th, which is Martin Luther King's birthday. And uh, to this day, she's vegetarian. She too slid back into, the standard American diet and experienced, social as well as psychological and, physical trauma. And I'm constantly reminding them, do your herbs, do them enemas every day. I'm like, I've been doing them since y'all met me, since these children met me. So, and I'm still doing them even more so. As a matter of fact, I'm doing them 3 and 4 times in a day. So, what that tell you? And I still climb trees, ride bikes, skate, and I do everything else that I want to do on the planet. I even travel. So I'm just letting them know that, this has a lot to do with your finances, your physical health, your well-being, your mental clarity, and your balance, everything. So the fourth child, I ate a lot of cucumbers. Uh, she's pretty clairvoyant, Scorpion. And when she came, uh, my second daughter, she was looking, this is the one that was born in the hospital. She was reading a book called Cellulite by Charlotte Hill. And she said, Mama, you doing? And I realized that the body can be filled with waste in the colon while you're carrying your babies. And that's why a lot of women carry excessive weight. I will do enemas with all my birthings. The only one I didn't do enemas with was my oldest daughter because at the time I was still learning. But with my second, third, fourth, and my fifth child, I did enemas. I did, as a matter of fact, on the fifth child, I did enemas 2 times in the day and at night before I went to rest. And so I had a lot of vitality. I did everything all the way up until the day I was supposed to give birth. So cleaning the bloodstream is extremely important. I will always hear that was Victor's mantra. You gotta clean your blood, you gotta clean your blood. And I said, I'm cleaning my blood. He said, but you putting stuff back in you that's creating filth. And I was like, what am I doing that's creating filth? And he's like, you still eat soy? I said, yeah. He said, what kind of soy you eat? And I told him tofu. He said, well, you need to fry the tofu to make it, so you can salivate it because everything that you eat turns into liquid. You got to liquefy it to get it to go into the stomach so the digestive juices could break it down to carry it to the liver. And so he would constantly remind us, myself and one of the couple other sisters, that we would call him and ask him a bunch of questions. He would constantly remind us about doing the enemas. The enemas were extremely important simply because they help to go inside of the lower intestines and open up where otherwise it will be impacted because the colon becoming so impacted that it will affect us mentally. It will affect us physically. And so many people, as well as a couple of my nieces, they are overweight. And I know that they're suffering from, excessive mucus. They'll call them fibroids or they'll call them tumors and what other names they give them, but it's blockage. So by the time I had Ayana, my fifth child, she just came out like perfect. I was there by myself with another little young sister, and I said, just catch her. And she was afraid to actually physically catch her. So she came and I pushed her out, and she fell on the bed. I picked her up. The little sister, kind of helped, gave me a towel, and I laid her on top of me, and I sucked the waste out the nose and the mouth, not the waste, but the mucus. And then I had a syringe, but I didn't use that. Something in my spirit told me to use my mouth. And I sucked the stuff out her ears, and I just laid her on top of me. And then I didn't know about the lotus birth at the time, but I would have did the lotus had I known. But I severed the navel cord in 3 different places. I tied it with dental floss, and then um, I laid her down, and the little sister that was there with me, she prepared some water, and she was a bit nervous, and she wiped her off, and I worked on getting the placenta out. And so I waited for about 3 contractions, and then I pushed, and then I pulled the cord that was on the placenta, and then I brought the placenta forward. So after that, of course, I rested really, really good, and I would drink warm herbs, and of course, I had to do me enema a day after because I was like exhausted, but I wasn't tired to the point to where I couldn't function. And at that point in time, her father wasn't present, so a mother of 4 older daughters and a baby. It was pretty intense, yet it was beautiful because they were able to learn to help assist in caring for a newborn as well as an older woman. Because at that time, I'm like 35, 36, back in 1997. I think I was about 30 something then. So that's
And
my.
there's a couple questions related to that that's on the floor. And Heidi asked, says, "Wow, enemas multiple times a day." And then Queen Ebony asked, "What age did you start giving your children enemas? If you used maybe the bulb enemas or something."
Wow. With my oldest daughter, I had to give her an enema as an infant because from the waste that I had been eating, she had experienced, some constipation. So I used a baby ball syringe and gave her enema. My mother would do us when we were little because we ate government cheese and all that garbage and bread and stuff, and we would be constipated a lot. And she would take her finger with some kind of ivory soap or something and a suppository and stick it in our rectum, and we would have a bowel movement. I could remember having a bowel movement where it would hurt my stomach, and we would push really, really hard. At the time, we would have just a slight blood. I didn't know what hemorrhoids was when I was smaller, but when I got older, I realized that hemorrhoids, they are like, it's like a lot of people have hemorrhoids and they don't talk about it. But because they have the standard American diet, they are functionally living with it. So they'll use laxatives on the market, which makes billions and billions of dollars, and people are like functional, constipated zombies. I mean, consistently repoisoning the body.
Somebody make a
They think
meme
that's
of
normal.
that. That's good. Yeah, functional
Exactly.
zombies. It's good.
So yeah, I work my way up to at least 3 to 4 enemas throughout the day. I got it like that. I said I want to be one of the richest people on the planet. So hey, what can I say? I got the leisure to do it. I got the time, and I make the time to do it. I carry an enema bag with me. There's one in my trunk now, and darn everywhere I go, I got one living with me. I go over to, my daughter and son-in-law's house. I got an enema bag there. I got 4 of them. As a matter of fact, I can go get it and show you how to bag. I'm gonna have me a bag everywhere I go. And you know how people have to have food? I have to have oxygen. I have my windows down. I'm a ride today, and it was like drinking water, just breathing. And so I got more intense with breathing in these last few months, because I've been doing, yoga. I'm on a superior yoga quest. And so one of my brethren, Chef T, who works here at Loving It Live, he told me about a place to do hot yoga. And it was amazing. It was so many brothers and sisters there from every walk of life. It was amazing. And then he just told me recently about Astanga yoga, which I'm getting ready to check that out and see how that suits me well, and plug that in with my Mucusless Diet Healing System, because Victor asked me had I ever done yoga while I was, holding my water in me. And I was like, no. So my first posture would be the headstand. And the headstand is the superior posture in every teachings of yoga, because they help balance the organs. And I would hold a headstand while I'm doing my enemas, which is to me equivalent to colonic, which I've never had, but I wouldn't mind trying it one point in time in my life. And it was just amazing. All the water didn't come out because my colon had absorbed it. But when it did, it was unbelievable. The odor.
Yeah, that's an important point to make, because people don't always understand when they start doing enemas and the water absorbs into the decades-old feces crust,
Oh,
and and you might be dealing with that, and then they'll stop, and it's like, don't stop, keep doing it for a couple more days, and keep eating properly, and eventually you will have a grand elimination.
I seen a Parasite Q posted. I'm like, that just took me back to like last year, a year and a half. They shared that Facebook post that I did.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
That Parasite. I was like, these motherfuckers look just alike. I was like, wow, this is amazing. So with any woman that conceives, it is doable, to make the time to and when you need some assistance, it would be good to consult someone who has walked through it, and that way they can, because I administer enemas. I'll tell people, I won't look at your stuff. I can do everything, like Helen Keller. I'll just feel and I'll help you out,
In this question, like, so if somebody is interested in, how do you go about studying midwifery, or how to find a doula, or what is the proper terminology? Educate us in terms of what that is. I know we have a registered nurse here as well, Kyrene and Mama Takora. And so talk a little bit about that, if you were letting people know sort of that world, from what's the difference between what happens in the hospital versus if you get a trained doula or a midwife, or however you want to.
I'll let Tareen, I'll just, kind of like piggyback after she give her reason, because right now, so many people, they would choose a hospital over a doula simply because that's where they've been trained at mentally.
Yeah. I mean, there's birthing centers, and I mean, there are some doctors that I've heard of doctors that will deliver your baby at home, along with a midwife nurse. But I've only heard of that here in Puerto Rico. But as far as like in the States, in New York, I know there's a couple of birthing centers. And so you would work one-on-one with a midwife. But yeah, I think that's the way to go, because of, the doctors. A lot of doctors push for C-section, and it's not easy finding a doctor who is going to push for you to deliver naturally. I think that's more of a challenge nowadays. So if you are going to deliver in a hospital, I would say try to find a doctor who is on board and who is really going to support you in your decision to natural birth. But yeah, as far as delivering at home, I think it's a great option. It is safe. Sometimes you hear from some people that, oh well, like, you know, what if an emergency happens? Well, there's usually an emergency plan that the doctor will have in place if you decide to have a natural birth at home. So yeah, it's definitely more an option to think about.
Oh, Shay. For myself, since I was 19, the women that were there for me, none of them had any formal or higher education as far as like college. And I think Sister Keturah, Brenda Moore, Israel, she coming out of the Hebrew Israelite camp, these sisters, they lived in the forest in the woods for like I think about a year or two before they came back into the inner city of Cincinnati, because they were in the train thought of, you know, Babylon coming to an end. So we already know what all that was about, you know, the scare tactics to figure out who was revolutionary. So their thing was to train women through hands-on, you know. So the majority of the women that were called midwives in the community where we were. When we got to a little higher learning, we started learning different terms like doula and doula, midwives, and it's another term too. I got to think of that. Um, the women would, when a sister would have a conceive, she would say, well, I want this one to deliver my baby, and the other sisters would come support, but that one particular woman would be the one that would like catch the baby and do the necessary protocol, and the other sisters would assist. And so my sister-in-law, she was learning with Keturah, and then Keturah's sister, Yehudiah, Israel. She too had birthed about, she brought forth at least a dozen, 2 dozen babies in her lifetime. As a matter of fact, Miss Juanita down at the Vital Statistics, they was after her because they kept saying her name on birth certificates for children and no father's names. And they didn't like that because back in the day, a lot of the women were getting on assistance because they didn't work. They didn't utilize the workforce because these women, being Hebrew Israelites, you know, it was like their men, they were targets. So to keep these brothers from being in the system, they would protect them in that way. You know, they wouldn't put them on child support, but they will live with the woman to help, you know, take care of the children. Their names just weren't on the birth certificate. So all of that came to a halt because of miseducation. Same thing with the diet. You know, the more knowledge certain ones got, the less they ate, and the ones that continued with the same diet, they went back to eating flesh. And even though they were, you know, they weren't really 100% vegetarian, they just didn't eat pork. And even some of the people in the nation, the same exact thing. I'm talking about the Nation of Islam. So the doulas or the midwives, uh, they were hands on, you know, and then they were, all of them would get books, particularly from the library, and wouldn't check them back in. They would keep them. And so the benefactors were the younger sisters that was interested in it. We have numerous doulas now. Where I'm at in Georgia, I couldn't tell you how many here. I do know the oldest one, my sister in the city. She is one of the oldest midwives, really, really, really patient. extremely disciplined. As a matter of fact, she's a certified yogi. And our vision is to see people detach from the fear and to learn that your breath, and this is fact. Your breath is your treasure. You don't know what's breathing you. You know you're getting your next breath though. And the deeper you breathe, the cleaner your blood becomes. And the cleaner that you eat, the less you eat. So I went from 105, I'm probably about 80 pounds now. And I can contort, I can do all kind of postures now. Postures that I could not do. It took me up to 15 to 20 years to do certain ones now. And I was so impressed. I was in awe that I was able to get there. Now, because I stayed consistent with cleansing, and when I'm holding water, I'm doing things like that so that these areas here can get the release from the tension. My legs, I do certain postures where I'm just holding. I hold them now, and I don't feel any sensation, no pain at all, no numbness, anything. But that comes with discipline. You have to have the discipline, and doulas are going to teach the women that when they bring forth their children, the things that they should be doing so that in the event that a midwife is not there, you can bring that child in yourself. I left the house when my second grandchild was born, and my son, he had to bring his baby here with Ayana, and when she came, he did well. I was very impressed because, he watched the first one, and then it's like he just knew what to do with the second. And of course, she had a lotus. She kept the placenta on the baby. So they really didn't need my help at all, because they had knew the work to do. I was looking for that shirt. That's what I was going to wear. I wound up putting on this.
This was from the second annual Arnold Eric Day celebration, where Sister Decorah led everybody with a little yoga at the end of her presentation here.
Yeah, that was fun. Oh my goodness. Thanks. That felt great. Yeah, I was looking for that shirt. I know where it's at too. It's over there, Mother's Earth Blessing, because I took it down there because I was gonna wear it.
Right.
But I got two of them. So that was, the gist of doulas and midwifery, where I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's great. And that should just be something that we'll definitely be talking about more. I mean, I know in our community and in some of the smaller consciousness communities that it's better known, well known. But I know I'll never hear anything halfway mainstream ever talk about it. Like maybe you hear it, but
they wouldn't, because then that's messing with the elite's pocket. They're not gonna do that.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Yoda there?
Yeah.
Baby.
That. He's so funny. He's so cute. This is my grandbabies. Yeah, I actually think he got some what you call it in the eyes. They, because all the new toys now, they got things in them.
Oh, you never know. You never know.
I'll be like, hey, big brother, how you doing? You want an animal? Tell Donald Trump to come on over to the center. I don't play. I'll be serious. I am very, very serious. We make sure that the politicians here get access to, the information so they can, stumble into the center and say, well, what is this all about? You're like, well, we got Some gallon enema bags now. Get them ready.
They need it.
We really want to come to it. You know, it's just this is a pandemic is ridiculous. So
Yeah,
we want to really enforce and pump that up.
most definitely. All right, well then thank you for that, and this, of course, keep on talking about that topic, but we will talk about it more. I mean, it's just so important. But I want to pivot now and talk a little bit about the menstrual cycle, and I want to talk a little bit with Andrea, and if you could share a little bit about your story, and really it's a testimonial of how powerful the Mucusless diet, raw foods, cleaning yourself up, how powerful that is to create real healing. Because so often I think people see testimonials or they hear people's stories, or I don't know. It's like, I don't know if at this point it kind of goes over people's heads, or they think it's something that is not real, but it's real. And Andrea definitely has a real story. So I turn it over to Andrea.
Yeah. So, how do I even start? So, all my life, I've suffered with horrible periods, horrible cramps, like just on another level where I basically just would plan out a couple days during that week every month to do nothing and just kind of suffer through it or just kind of deal with it. And I thought that was normal because a lot of other women and, girls my age, suffer through the same, horrible cramps and, very fatigued, couldn't kind of like go on with their everyday. So that was my experience throughout my entire life. And I always got told it was normal. So I never really thought anything about it. And that went on until my adulthood. And it just kind of, in 2019, it kind of just started getting really bad to another level where I was starting to think that there was something wrong. But I really didn't do anything at first. And then every month when I would get it, my cycle, I would be like throwing up like very dramatically. I couldn't be out in like the sunlight. I couldn't be out in any sort of heat without my body kind of shutting down. I would take the week off of work all the time. Like I was always just out sick during that week, and it was the norm. But then over like a course of starting from probably like April until December of 2019, it was like a huge episode where every month it was just getting drastically worse and worse. And I didn't know what was going on. And then I started to kind of like black out during some like instances during that week. And then it was horrible. And so then I was like, okay, well, let me go get checkups and let me go get tested because there's clearly something wrong. And so I would go, I woke up one morning. This is how it actually happened. I woke up one morning and I had really sharp pain, just like on one side of my body, I think on the left side. And I thought it was my appendix, like my appendix had burst. And I have a twin sister and her appendix had burst like a couple years before that. So I was like thinking, maybe this is just a thing that happens, it happened to my twin, so it's going to happen to me. And that was my first thought. And I called my mom and she was like, yeah, it sounds like it's your appendix. Like you should go to the ER. So my boyfriend, I actually didn't even have a car at the time. So we requested an Uber to go take me to the ER. And thankfully it was down the street, but it was like, I was just in so much pain. I was just like crying. I had no idea what was going on. And I go to the ER and they were like taking all sorts of tests on me because I told them I thought it was my appendix. So that's what they kind of thought at first too. So they took the CAT scans, the ultrasounds. And then they come back as I'm just like laying there in pain the whole time. And they were like, no, you're fine. Actually, it's not your appendix. We have good news. You actually just have an ovarian cyst, like a small ovarian cyst. And basically like you can go on about your day as if like, that was the best news I could have gotten. And I was like, okay, I guess that's good news in the grand scheme of things from how they're telling me, but I really, just deep down knew that like there was obviously something else going on and whatever. So I asked them, what should I do? Because they basically were just going to tell me to go home. They couldn't do anything for me. And so I asked them like what I should do going forward, because I'm clearly still in a lot of pain with no answers. So what am I supposed to do going forward? Because it's been like 6 months of every month it getting drastically worse. And so they said, what pain medication do you want? Like what painkiller do you want? Because the only thing they could. And I said, no, I don't want any because that's not going to solve the issue. And at the time, I was working in the cannabis industry, actually. So I used, the amazing cannabis plant to help the pain. And I used CBD to help with the inflammation, because after the hospital visit, I actually, it kind of got worse again for like 2 months after that. And I was very inflamed, where it looked like I was pregnant, and I couldn't walk. And it was just so much inflammation, so much like just so much pain in that area, where it was just, I couldn't physically walk. So I had taken a month off of work, like a medical leave, and just because I had to kind of keep going from doctor to doctor, getting more tests. And that was kind of me pushing the doctors to do these tests, because when I would go in and they didn't really give me any suggestions. And actually the only thing they told me was, you should just go on birth control, because it sounds like you just have bad cramps, and it is what it is, and it's normal. And the only thing that we can do for you is give you birth control. And I didn't feel comfortable with that. So I didn't take that suggestion. And so my health insurance at the time wasn't the best. So there was like so much delay in each visit that I can go to. So I was just kind of staying at home for weeks at a time until I can go to the next visit and to the next visit, and just asking for help from other people that I knew around me. Trying to find people that either went through the same thing or had some more information, maybe like alternative health information that I wasn't getting from the hospitals or from the doctors. So then I go to see a gynecologist, and she goes, yeah, actually you have like a slight bacterial infection. So just take these antibiotics and you should be fine. So I said, okay, is that my only option? She said, yes. So I took the antibiotics and I got rid of the infection, but my cycles would still be the same. They would still be bad, and I was still very inflamed, and it wasn't fun. So that's when I kind of, after so many months of being so sick and just, going through so many like traumatic experiences, like blacking out was just like on another level. It was just like not fun. So that's when I started looking into like a raw vegan diet and the mucusless diet and juicing. And I was vegan already, like it's been 5 years now. So 4 years or so back then. And I thought I was healthy, and I thought that I never took my diet in consideration when it came to the issues I was dealing with at the time. And I never had any health issues growing up. So I never thought that my diet really had that much of a role. And, even though I was vegan, I was still eating junk food vegan. I was a junk food vegan for sure, eating the processed meats and cheeses and trying all the new vegan places in Los Angeles that they had. And I never had any issues. So I didn't think to change that until this happened. And then I really started to look into juicing, especially, and the raw vegan diet. So that's when, yeah, there I am. And well, also, before I forget this part, so everything kind of, the infections kind of went away, and the CBD really helped the inflammation. So I was able to kind of walk again and slowly go back into my normal routine and go back into work. And I had lost a lot of weight during that time because I wasn't active and I wasn't eating much. And so it was kind of hard to kind of rebuild my body. And after I thought it was all said and done, I got the flu, horrible flu. which also then made me lose a lot more weight. And it was just like the breaking point for me where I was like, okay, I really need to do something. I never want to be this sick ever again. So that's when, I started transitioning into this. I started picking up juicing and really kind of just doing my homework and talking to other people. I didn't really know anybody in my life, personal, that was juicing regularly or was eating a raw vegan diet or anything in that world. So I created this page, my Instagram page, and started connecting with people and just learned like so much within the span of a year. And I'm still learning, but with that, my cycles started to get progressively better and better. And I still had my moments, of course, but when I changed my diet and I started juicing, I cut out the caffeine and all that stuff. It was like a 160. And when it's funny actually that we're doing this podcast today, because I actually just got my cycle today, which was like perfect timing to talk about all this. And it's everything has been a breeze. And in the last, I would say in the last 8 months or so, it's been like a 180 where, my cycles are pain-free. I'm not like lying in bed, like wishing it was over, and I can go on about my day and I can just do everything. I can be active. I can exercise without a problem. And for having like horrible experiences for over 10 years in my life, I never thought that would be a normal situation for me. So that's when I started seeing these results more and more over the months. I don't like want to go back. I don't want to change my diet or anything. I want to kind of continue on this path. So that was my little like confirmation that this is the right path for me and the right diet for me and lifestyle, and it works. And that's why I'm like such a huge advocate for living this way or eating this way, or just kind of taking your diet into consideration for any health issues, but especially, the reproductive system for women, because it really is, it's all correlated. It's all, one in another. So that's my story in a nutshell. And why I'm such a huge advocate and how I overcame horrible, debilitating cycles. And now they're pain-free essentially. And kind of like, I look forward to them in a way because I know it's going to be a breeze. So I feel like I'm a true testimony to, you can overcome something that seems so normal and common to women, but is actually not. And I feel like it should all be a breeze for everybody. And so that's my story.
Thank you so much for sharing. And because I hear, I'm on the receiving end of a lot of similar testimonies, but it's like they don't get real public. They're only made public because it's a sensitive topic. But I think it's real important to understand that what we always talk about, clean yourself up. That's what we were talking. You clean yourself by how? Cleaning up your diet, colon irrigation, sunbathing, breathing, yoga, stretching, the lifestyle, systematically about the system. And so that's very, very powerful. And while we're talking, I know it's not public. You want to mention your business, your aspirations for what you're doing there?
Yeah, well, since I started juicing so heavily and it became like a routine for me every day, I started to think, I started to make juices for family and for friends. And, when I would go out, and I would always be the person bringing juices or drinking a juice, and people started to get curious and they started to try them, and I started to make juices for them, and they love them. So I was like, why don't I just create a juice business? Do it on the side just to see what would happen. And there they are. And it kind of, it was like an overnight thing, and it took off for what it is. So it's, like you mentioned, it's not like a public thing right now. I'm working on expanding it and making it super legit. But right now I'm a one-woman show, and I make them for family and friends and word of mouth in the area and here in Los Angeles. So watch out for that in the near future. Everybody can purchase them at one point. But it's my little gift to the world, because I feel like one little bottle of juice can help somebody in some way, even if they don't know it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the real wave of the future. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be Coca-Cola and Pepsi and all this mess. It's supposed to be fresh juice. We have the means, we have the resources. 2021, yet people are still making this weird high fructose concoctions, and so I definitely commend Dre on the juice business. You know, that local, and it starts like that. You know, that local level, definitely.
Yeah. And people are surprised. I mean, when I get, like, for example, last night I gave a juice to somebody and it was just pure melon juice. And they were like, "Are you sure there's no sugar out of it?" Nope. That's pure fruit sugar. Yep. It's better than fake sugar. And now they're hooked. So
love sweet.
Yeah.
And there's a question for Andrea from Queen Ebony. Ask, are you a raw foodist? I guess how you identify yourself if you into the labels.
Well, I eat a high raw diet. I'm not 100% raw because I'm still in my transition, and I'm taking it at my pace. So I eat right now. I juice throughout the day, and I eat a lot of fruit and raw foods and veggies, and then I have a cooked plant-based dinner for dinner at night. Yeah. So I'm not 100% raw, but
in other words, the Mucusless Diet Healing System.
I'm a high raw vegan, if that's what you want to call me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your testimony. And there might be a little delay here, it seems like, but I'm going to ask Kyrene to share a little bit of your story. And also, while we're still kind of on the topic of cycles, just if changing your diet has improved that at all, and just, you know, how you kind of float through your day.
Yeah. Sure. So it's definitely sorry.
I think I was asking
Kyrene right now. It's so delayed on my end.
Yeah, we gotta. You might be able to leave and come back in, and I think it'll reset it.
I might do that actually.
Oh, you're
okay.
Okay. So we'll talk a second. They're gonna leave and come back in and see if we can reset the levels here. But Mama Takora, she is astral traveling right now. Okay, how's that?
Better, yeah.
All right,
definitely better.
So share a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, so I definitely believe that what you eat definitely has an impact on your menstrual cycle, 100%. Before switching to a vegan diet, my periods were heavy. They were almost 7 days, and they were painful.
Wow.
I had blood clots almost every period, and I would say the size of a quarter, or sometimes even bigger. So my periods were definitely painful every month. On my, like, the second day, which is usually the heaviest day of my period, I would usually just stay home because of the pain, and I would feel really drained and tired. So I would just like be in bed that first day. And like Andrea said, I mean, you think that this is the way it's supposed to be. It's normal, but when you start cleaning up your diet, you really experience a difference. And I switched to a vegan diet in December of 2017, and I did a fruit fast in March. And during that month, I actually missed my period because I was deep in detox. And then when I got my period the next month, it was definitely lighter. So I went from like a 7-day period to like a 3-4 day period. And not as painful as before. I still to this day experience some pain like on my second day, but it's mild and I don't feel like, I'm able to just go about my business and I feel fine. And I feel like I can work out, and so it doesn't affect my daily activity. But yeah, one thing I did notice is that the more you incorporate the raw fruits and veggies, the lighter your period is. Um, and and it wasn't too long for me to experience these benefits. So I I truly believe that being on the Mucusless diet system you will experience the benefits of your menstrual cycle, and it's just amazing. I don't have blood clots like I used to. I think that stopped basically right after becoming vegan. And yeah, it definitely, I feel much better. I don't feel as drained when I do have my period now. And like I said, I still have some pain, but it's mild, and I can deal with it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that that testimonial. Again, it's just so important because it's simple, and so people are suffering unnecessarily when just being humble, saying I got to let's clean myself up a little bit, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
results that some people would say are miraculous. They are just what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be painful.
My
Exactly.
testimonial about cycle, it was, to me, it was short lived because when I first came on my cycle, I was shocked. I was 14, and some people, I guess, would consider me like a late bloomer, but to me that was an appropriate age because quite a few young girls I know at the time, they had experienced and they were experiencing some very critical cramping. Now, one of my sisters, both my older sisters, they would get cramps, but the second eldest, she would have them so severely. My grandfather, shaman, he would take his hand and put it on her stomach and shake his hand, and she would go from intense hollering to calm, and we would just sit and watch this like for hours and watch him do it. We was like he had magic hands. And my grandmother, she would give my cousin golden seal. She had Alvita herbs at the time. I don't know if Alvita is still on the market, but they had every herb you can name that was in Jethro Claus's back to Eden book. And each herb that was used actually was heated in water, it simmered, or it steeped. And it was only a little sweetener was used only when it was too bitter. So it would break down the waste in the colon and give the colon a chance to rest. Because any cramping, any and all cramping anywhere is inflammations, pus or the mucus. And any pain anywhere comes from the bloodstream not being well oxygenated. So when I turned like 18 or 19, I would stay on my cycle for like 3 to 4 days, 5 at the most. Never had a 7-day cycle that I can remember of, even after I had my children. And they all had mild cramping. Now I found out that your cycle would cease to continue the cleaner you get your blood. I experienced that in my 45th year. When I turned 45, my cycles had stopped, and I didn't know what was going on with my body because I'm thinking like I'm not experiencing menopause. I would ask women how old were they when they experienced that, and I realized that I didn't get the same things that they got. Even if I had gotten it, I don't think it would have been that severe because I started doing limit enemas, straight limits, and whatever was going on down there, it was removed, the blockage. So then the times that were passed monthly, I never knew how to keep up with my cycle. Please, my cycle. My sister told me the day that you go off your cycle, mark it on the calendar, and count 28 days from there, and your cycle will be. And that's how mine was consistently. I will come on the exact day because I learned how to do it. And then the more enemas I started indulging in or using, my cycle changed. So it was hard to keep up with the day after I started doing so much cleansing. And I noticed that they got lighter and lighter. The last cycle that I had a little mild cramping, and I would have pink blood. It wasn't red, like deep red like it used to be. And I was like, I went back to the Mucusless Diet Healing System, but I'm read about the cycles. And I was like, I'm experiencing this. So by the time I was like 48, 49, I didn't have any cycle at all.
So would you still have been capable of getting pregnant? Because I guess that's the question.
Oh yeah,
So
you can
didn't have the cycle, but you still could have got pregnant.
Still conceive. You can still conceive, and that's one of the I say misinformed part of science. I think the experimentations give them some facts, and then also too, there's still some things that they don't know. You know, I know two women now. One of them just transitioned, 42 years old. She had a baby in her, and she had stents in her heart. We didn't know because she had a major heart attack last year. And so she and the little one didn't come through. I think the little one may still be alive because you know how science is, you know how the hospitals get when they have something to research. And she transitioned. However, I do know another woman that's like 40 plus, and she's walking around here waiting to drop her load now. So your body, you got to get your body to a certain frequency to be able to really, really have that kind of discipline to bring forth children. And I think, I'm like, I'm not having my grandbabies. I'm just not getting ready to have no more folks up out of this little thing here. And I'm careful about the times where I don't engage like I would with a toxic body. It's like now my decisions are ever clear, and my time to uh, have moments with intimacy with my partner. We talk. I'm like, "What you eat today? What you been eating?" So if he's indulging in something that I don't eat, I'm like, "Bro, we're gonna have to like chill," because we can't do that. We just, and he respects that, because there's some things he's still working through his transition in, and I'm like, I've been there before with, you know, uh, brothers that wasn't really like on the same page. They would start out good, but then it was like they would struggle. It was and then they would read a little bit of the book, and they'd put it down, and then they wouldn't stay consistent with it. So I was like, I'm a worker and a working in progression, and when I see people are afraid of the work, or they create any excuse not to be disciplined, I detach and I continue doing my work, and they eventually move on themselves. They'll move themselves right on along, or should I say, they'll boot themselves up out of there. Because any bowel movement, any movement is a good thing. You want to be able to be influential with people, period, in general. Even if you're in a grocery store and you talking to somebody and they're asking some simple questions, and it's okay to talk about animals, you know. I'm leisurely talking about them all the time.
Yeah, yes. Yes, you are. And I want to, so, and you're, I think, the perfect person to, because you're already talking about this, but to refer directly to the text, because this doesn't get talked about a lot. So let's throw this out there and bring it, bring it out. So in the sex part 2, here it says, this is the Mucusless Diet Healing System, annotated version of PDF. And here it says, if the female body is perfectly clean through this diet, the menstruation disappears.
That's true.
A lot of people are mad right now that was said. They're like, people that read this book missed this part. So just that sentence, that's enough.
I'm a little testament of that, because I wanted to see. The only way I could know it is to do it in oral air. That was my Bible, literally. I carried that book with me everywhere for at least 8 years, because I wanted to know how he did this stuff on his own body. And then when I started doing it on my own body, I was able to see it. And like I said, between the ages of 45 and 48, I was able to really actually experience it, because one of my close sisters, she conceived. She had 2 of them had babies in their past 40. And I wanted to continue doing the enemas so that I could get off to see what it feel like to actually be off of a cycle and not experience a menopause. It's real. And I don't know anybody else that has experienced it with that level of, documentation. Because one of my sisters, CDO, we will have sister circles up in Kentucky, and then some of them will come to Ohio. And during that time, I think I was the only one basically doing the Mucusless Diet Healing System. And she said in the circle, well, it's important to keep a journal because you won't remember everything. And so in doing the journaling, I recorded some of the things that I was experiencing, with myself, my relationships, my moods, and during the times that I fasted, or when I fast, I would say to my children, and especially my younger ones, because they would answer the phone. I was like, well, if anybody call, tell them I'll call them when I get in, which meant when I get into my consciousness, because I was resting. I had to rest. The bed was my best friend. I could go from the bathroom to the bed. I will have my music on, my Cosmic I Am. That was a CD that I got from Kalika Mawusi that Adama had did way back in the day from her teacher. And I would just rest. And I would just like really, really meditate and rest. One of my close sisters here, Mother Mandara, she has a book called The Art of Relaxation. So inside there, it teaches us that, your breath is essential. And in your breathing, we should know how to be relaxed. We should know how to rest. And most of us, we have sleepless nights. We'll get up in the middle of the night. Many of us eat. Unfortunately, many of us will turn the television on, or probably some videos or whatever, and we will watch it and fall asleep with it on in our subconscious mind. So all this stuff is continuously a pollutant. And so the body and the mind can't get rest. Today I did an observation, extreme observation, and I looked at everybody that was around me. If they wasn't like this, they was like this, or either they was zoned and like they was like literally like just like didn't know what was going on. And this behavior is consistent. And then I looked at the grocery stores. and they tell you to stay social distancing, where that don't even exist no more because everybody is in line, close, just shopping, going past one another, and then you'll hear some coughing. Now the masks are supposed to shield you and these other people from whatever's going on, but in the same breath, it's going back. The toxins and waste is going back into us. So I'm learning to detach from being in, a larger social environment and staying plugged into where we are. Because it's more of us where we are that are cleansing and moving toward the higher vibration than it is for me to be out in society where it's so many people that are sick. So bringing it back home with the woman doing the enemas, I stepped up into doing it a little more frequently as I was learning to shut that cycle off. I would do lemon enemas frequently. I didn't do lemon enemas like I do them now. I can do lemon enema like once or twice, or use lemon water once or twice during my enemas. And otherwise, I'll do warm water and warm water with clay. But back then I would do 20, 25 lemons straight. And then I lessened them to 10 and then down to like 2 or 3 of them. Because I can hold 2 or 3 in my colon for a good 45 minutes. I can hold it literally. And by the time I move my bowels, the mucoid plaque was unbelievable. It was just, I, I feel really, really sad and thinking about that now. As many people here that I see that are obese. I saw a little boy that was at least 150 pounds. He probably wasn't about 8 or 9 years old.
Wow.
And yeah, it's tragic.
How's a baby gonna feel when you got this all up in you?
Yeah.
Pregnant.
Yikes. Yeah.
Wow.
How's that child gonna fare?
Well, most of them are born with issues because wow, look at that one right there. That's how I looked at the one all the way on the end from the last, that second one from the last at the end, all the way over.
Which one?
That black one that looked like an S at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's it. That's how my mucoid plaque looks.
Yeah. Yeah, this the real stuff. And people still don't think it's real, and I'm like, man, all right, you can live in that delusional realm.
Well, actually, it's a dying, and I'll learn to remind people that one, we're coming in sick because we got generations of poisons,
right?
And so in order to start living, this is what you're getting rid of,
right?
So I don't call what we do a diet. I call it a livity. And I understand why it's called the Mucusless Diet Healing System, because when you're eating and you're dying, then there will be a day where you won't be eating at all. Is sister up?
I hear. Is that the pitter patter of little feet?
Yeah, that's a holy truth, brother. Come here. Come here. Say hi. Come here. Say hi to. Come here. Come here, sister. Come say hi to Auntie Mamas and Papa Baba.
And real quick, I wanted to. So we won't talk too much more about this. We can move on to some other topics. But while we were to kind of finish up about the menses, this is in the rational fasting, in our edition of it, as well as some later editions of the rational fasting, My Road to Health by Teresa Mitchell. And she has a testimony in here that backs up what Era was talking about, where she says that her menstrual periods only occurred at 6-month intervals. And when they did come, I felt no nervous reaction or mental depression and absolutely no pain whatsoever. Their duration was very short. And she goes a little bit deeper into that in this discussion. And so I'm just starting the dialogue because I don't hear a lot of people talk about that and the potential of it. I'm sure there's a lot of folks that push against that and say, well, wait a minute, that's insane. And then we have testimony like Sister Cora that's like, hey, I did it, and live that. And from a transitional standpoint, as a man, I mean, that makes sense. It's like that you could potentially transition from once a month to once every 28 days to once every 48 days, like that type of transition to once every 6 months, once a year, that could be something that happens. But I don't know. I'm listening to y'all. I just want to throw this out here. And
I could definitely, I mean, I was even talking about that today on Instagram, how my cycles have become shorter, for like 1 to 2 days shorter, and they're also very light compared to how they once were. And I always heard that before when I kind of started to learn about this lifestyle and this diet, and I didn't think that it could I didn't think that it couldn't happen, but it was always someone else's story, not mine. So I didn't think that maybe that would happen to me. But yeah, mine has definitely gotten shorter and much lighter. And I hear a lot of women say that they actually lose it completely. And then there's the whole argument that people say that it's not normal to not have it because, your body is releasing those toxins through your blood every month. And so that's why I feel like a lot of people are so iffy about it, because they hear these both sides and they don't know what's true and what's supposed to be natural or not natural. So it's interesting.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
And we do have a question I want to share with the forum here from Manifest Me, and this sort of transitions into the cleansing process. Have any of you had experiences with recurring yeast infections? Also, thoughts on douching? I started getting yeast infections after getting an IUD. 1 year later, I had it removed, but still have symptoms.
I've never had. Oh, go ahead. I've never had any experience, so you can go ahead.
Oh, okay. I've had when I was eating meat and just before I got on the diet, there was a time where I was getting a recurring yeast infection, and I just didn't understand why. But then when I did switch my diet, like all of a sudden it stopped. And then one of the things that I found really helpful is douching with Dr. Robert Morse's Heal All Tea. I have had really good relief with that. I find it to be really effective, more effective than any other remedies I've tried, because I've tried several remedies. Everything from like hydrogen peroxide in water, or like apple cider vinegar mixed with water. What else? Coconut oil. So, I find the douching with Heal All Tea to be pretty effective for yeast infections. The other thing that I have done is I would prepare a vaginal suppository, and I will mix coconut oil with the Heal All Tea, like a 50-50 ratio, and add some drops of tea tree oil. I'll put it in an ice cube tray, freeze it, and then at night I will insert it, wear a pad, and I found that to also be really effective if you're trying to fight any infections, whether it's yeast or bacterial, or just any other issues going on there. Also, it's very good for if you have abnormal cells on your cervix. It's very good for that. And just as a cleansing, what I regularly do now after my period every month is I'll douche with the Heal All Tea. just to kind of clean that area out. So yeah, if you're suffering from recurring yeast infections, the first thing I would recommend is to work with your diet. Because, you know, if you're still consuming a very high acidic diet, the douching may not be effective. So you definitely want to work with your diet and try to incorporate more alkaline foods. Try to get, increase your citrus fruits. And then aside from that, yeah, definitely to just treat it. I think the Heal tea is pretty effective. Yeah. Yeah, somebody
Yeah,
just said that the
Shanice.
Heal tea cured mine. Yeah, it's amazing. Like you literally see all the mucus coming out. But yeah, it's yeah. And I usually will do a couple of them. So I would douche like twice a day. And then I would also do I'll insert the vaginal suppository at night, and yeah, it's pretty effective.
You make them?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
You
really
didn't
easy.
market them, did you?
What's that?
You didn't market them, did you?
No,
No, but
I
the
didn't.
reason I asked is because I'm interested because we deal with a lot of young women, a lot of them, and 3 of them that I know right now have fibroids, and they don't have a lot of discipline. So it's like if they don't call, then we don't get a chance to really help them through the issues and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things we encourage them to do is the enemas and the dishes with the clay water, because clay is like mud and pull the poisons and stuff down and out. And with the discipline of the woman. Now, we're dealing with a lot of immature females that say they're women, but actually they're like girls. We have to stay. We have to stay on top of them about doing the cleansing,
Yeah.
and encourage them to eat more balanced foods instead of junk or garbage. Because they got this thing where if they're eating vegan, they can eat darn near anything. And I just had a discussion with a youth, and I said, "Well, the child said, well, we eat vegetarian." I said, "Well, what's your favorite thing?" "Vegan pizza." And I was like thinking, okay, because these things they constipate, you know, and for them in their minds is vegetarian. So we're having to pretty much do damage control when it comes to younger women who are still learning how fruits and vegetation is real food, and anything outside of that is not, because the grains are basically for cattle, and then the nuts are basically for the creatures that are like you know that live out in the nature, and then the fruits and vegetation pretty much is basically for the human. And so the body, when we got the young people that like to eat the diet, the vegan cheese, the soy cheese, and so forth with, and they have these discharges and these yeast infections and stuff like that, and you tell them what to do, they still will go back and eat the stuff that's
Mm-hmm.
vegetarian or vegan. And it's hard to get them off the bread. I'm telling them consistently toast it until you can stop, because you gotta stop. Your body will tell you to stop. If you don't have the consciousness to stop, your body will make you stop, and you don't want to get to where your body make you stop, because then now you're in pain.
Mhm.
You know. But you know how like an alcoholic is, I ain't drinking no more.
I ain't
I'm
drinking no.
done.
I'm good. Well, this is like I ain't drinking no more. This is the last one.
Yeah, exactly.
Go, girl, come on, let's go party. Yeah, come on.
Takora, talk about. I think you at the Air Day celebration, the first one, you talked about the lemon or the lemon water douche technique.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
What's that about?
That for me is a phenomenal phenomenon because my first time doing it, I was I had a partner and I was like, God damn, out of me, you know. And that was one of the first things I did was I used lemons to diluted the lemon and I took a dish with it and I also stood over a little thing of frankincense myrrh, to kind of like clean my body temple out, mind, and all of that. And it really is for people. We got this is our North Pole and this is our South Pole, the lower chakra. And those poles, they got to be cleaned out because when there's some blockages in there, you're going to experience crazy. You know crazy when you see it. And for us to use the dishes to clear the walls, it also clears these glands, the mind. It gives us the wherewithal to not only do it but to remember, to stay focused and stay in that frequency so that we can continue to teach the younger ones how to keep their body temples clean, because the womb is a self-healing organism. It's not self-healing when it got blockage or it's not as strong. It will do some facilitating. It won't have as much power when it doesn't have enough clean or pure substance to keep it flushed. So for me, I don't I don't think I had addiction probably almost a decade because I don't engage, I don't indulge, and my body kind of really self-regulating, which I like. So oftentimes when I'm doing the enemas, I stand on my head, and when I stand on my head, I'm getting a flush and I can feel a lot coming from off, my spine. So I got a spine chart. I got that from my brother, Dr. Bell. He's a chiropractor. And each vertebra, is connected to our nerves, and the nerves, they give you certain symptoms with certain blockages. So like up in the top part of the spine, those are your facial nerves. And I saw a YouTube piece of a young European journalist female who was talking and she lost her capacity to finish the interview. She was talking, well, we're here live at she was literally trying to talk and everything just shut down. The same thing with a person that has the mobility to walk, and the blockage, the waist, it shuts them down where they can't, their nerves are not able to hold them up anymore. This is what happens with the human body when a person starts becoming obese. The All of these nerves are blocked, and so your brain can't process information. And in a way, your brain will process information. I can tell them all day, take an enema, take an enema. They don't hear that. But a person obese like them, and they see them, because we had a sister almost about 300 pounds. She's like, I don't want to lose my butt. Y'all too skinny. I don't want to get that skinny. That booger went to Jamaica. She did them enemas. When she came back, you would have told this was the same person. She didn't have a butt. She looked like a supermodel, and her locks was real long. And I was like, I was blew away because she literally, she had it was like some brain fog was removed. And that's what happens to the body when you start cleaning the bloodstream. I don't beat people upside the head with this. I stay in my lane. I stay happy, and people be like, so Mr. Cole, what do you do to such and such? And I just give them a little, spoon feed them, a little baby spoon at a time. But then they come back and they want a big bite. You want a big bite of this apple? You ready? Come on over here. And you want me to come over? I'll come over. I'll hook you up. But I'm scared. And I'll be like, don't be scared. You ain't gonna even be scared. I had a sister, she mastered it. She mastered the enemas. And she called me 3 days before she transitioned. She passed away. She was 38 years old. And she said, I ain't been doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I said, well, what happened? She said, I ain't been doing, I've been eating stuff that I ain't supposed to be eating. I said, why are you doing that? She's like, I'll be with my boyfriend. I was like, well, why don't you tell him about what you're doing so he can learn this? She would never bring him. So she called me after she had went to the dentist and had some work done on her mouth. And she had been taking meds. And they gave her some more meds. And she said her father told us he had taken her to the restroom, left her there by herself. She had been told to take the enemas. I told her to drink the clay so she can rest, but she didn't do them. She transitioned, 38 years old. And, when you don't do the work, I'm telling you, when you do the work, you can experience the benefits of it. The thing is be consistent because it's part of our memory bank. And that's the thing about blockage, and waste. Ayana said it earlier, you start doing stuff you ain't supposed to be doing and you just get carried away with it, but people in their right bodies and right mind, they're gonna suffer. Your body is gonna tell you this is too much. I can't do it no more. So with women and doing these dishes as well as the enemas, it's important, especially when you are still eating the flesh of animals, you're eating processed foods, and you're having relations or sexual intercourse with partners that are not doing what you're doing. Those things are essential. And then when you get the discipline, you won't engage in sexual intercourse with toxic garbage cans guys. You won't eat a bunch of junk you think is food. And your body will tell you that, girl, your pum-pum smell bad. You need to go and clean that thing out. Your body is going to tell you these things we living in, they are miraculous. I saw a person 400 pounds and they was like, I need some help. And I was like, yes, all praises. And that's a beautiful thing for that person to say to themselves, I need some help. And when you are able and you want to help them, then do it. But don't say you want to help them and then you don't want to take the time to really get down there into the toilet with them. Because, I done been in the toilet with people, literally. I'm like, I got gloves on. Oh my, look at this. And they're like, get back in there. Like, okay.
Whoa.
What your mama tell you?
Oh my god.
Did y'all see that colossal?
Oh yeah.
You not to do that. See all these people watching you. Look at her. She want to try to hide.
She done became a meme now.
Yeah. Just like that.
Somebody asked, let's see, Yvonne asked, how much lemon for a lemon douche? Half a lemon, quarter lemon.
Well, starting out, you want to squeeze at least 2 lemons and then put like 2 cups of water. You can put that in a jar and you can start out with a little bit because I'm telling you, your womb, when it's toxic, it's going to burn. I use straight lemon. And I'm going to tell you, remember them cartoons where they show, they put the fire on the foot and like ass popping out the head.
Yeah.
Everything be like on fire.
Yeah.
That was me when I did my first lemon douche, and I was like, "What the did I do this for?" You know, I put some lemon drops in my ear, and I was literally upside down on my head in my vehicle, and it throbbed so bad. But honey, I could hear so good. I was like, I will never do that again. I literally turned upside down on my head in the car. I was in the vehicle when I did it because I was, experiencing some, blockage. You know, when you go up in the mountains and your ears start popping.
Yeah.
I was experiencing that on that ground. I was like, what is going on with my ears? But I didn't know I was loosening up. My body was loosening up waist. And I some oil drops. I'm gonna put some oil in my ear. It was the pain was so intense. I could have just took my head off my neck and just threw it. That's just how intense the pain was. But after it subsided, I could hear a pin drop on cotton. It was just that good. Yeah. So that's the thing about getting cleaner. You know, your vision, your clairvoyancy, your tenacity to comprehend some serious issues like finances. I pay this, I pay that. No, don't pay them folks attention. Do you go buy yourself some stuff to facilitate cleaning out? Because when we come into a cashless society, what you got left?
Yeah. Yeah, that's some good stuff. And I will say, for folks that didn't know, earlier was talking about the Heal All tea. It's like a very mild. It's a nice blend. It's real kind of got mild effect. And and I had used that a number of times with enemas, but I would combine the Heal All tea with the lemon juice, and I found some nice blends with that. And because it just pulls on the mucosa slightly because it's not real aggressive. And
I gotta give me some of that.
Yeah, it's a nice blend. So the final topic of today, which you started kind of talking about, you said that folks shouldn't engage with the trash can people in relationships. I'm interested to hear everybody talk a little bit about your thoughts and experiences in the relationship realm and having significant others. It's always a topic where that's brought up where there's and I don't know if it's true or not. The working assumption is that it's harder for a woman to take the Mucusless diet home to a man or boyfriend than it is for a man to introduce a Mucusless diet to his significant other. So that's the kind of discussion. That's the kind of topic that I'd like to hear you guys kind of meditate on a little bit.
I'll go last.
Okay. I'll go first. Because actually, my boyfriend, he went into this lifestyle before I did. And actually, he went vegan before I did 5, 6, 7 years ago. And I was vegetarian first for a year before I went vegan. And he went vegan overnight. He said, I want to do it for 30 days and just see how I feel. He was eating, standard American diet, was like, lifting weights at the gym. Like that was like his thing at the time. And he's like, let me go vegan for 30 days. Let me see how I feel. And he loved it. And then he was actually the one that pushed me to go vegan. And actually he was like in the whole world of fasting and raw vegan before I ever was. And nice. So he was the one who kind of brought it home first. And then I kind of followed. So it was kind of the opposite. That was like what happened with my situation, at least. But I dated people before and that, weren't even vegan or vegetarian by any means. And I was, and it didn't last long. I feel like our lifestyles were so different that it didn't really click. So that was my experience, at least. I know a lot of people do make it work, but I do hear there are some struggles. When you're eating with somebody all your meals, it's, you know, you have to make some sacrifices, I feel like. So it is, I think, a little bit easier when both partners are at least somewhat the same. But yeah, it's my experience at least.
All right. Any interesting stories?
No, I just kind of want to piggyback on what Andrea said. It's challenging when you are vegan and your partner is not. Like you said, Andrea, I've also know of couples that that make it work. But for me personally, I find it to be very challenging. And at this point in my life, it's not my preference. I just, yeah, I think what would complement me, and I think you realize that once you go through the experience of being with someone who is still a meat eater and you're on this journey,
Yes.
it just makes you realize that that difference in lifestyle is a huge deal, you know. And when you're starting a family and you want to have a child with someone, it becomes important.
Yeah.
So, and it could be, and at that point, if you're not on the same page, it can cause a breakup.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that it's a question of compatibility. But I also think that, hey, like there's couples that make it happen, and that's great. But I think for me personally, it's definitely not my preference, and has not turned out to be like sort of like a good experience for me. I for one would not like for anyone to, you know, cook meat at home. So I that's just it.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. Like, so
Yeah.
I I wouldn't be able to tolerate that situation. I'm just really passionate about my lifestyle. It's really important to me, and so yeah, I definitely think that being with someone who shares a similar lifestyle will be favorable.
Yeah. I mean, also, I feel like it's once you, even just if it's a diet thing in the beginning, I feel like it opens up like a whole rabbit hole of other things that kind of come with this lifestyle. And like your mindset and things that you're, you know, passionate about, and the way you view certain topics or issues, or, you know, live your life, it just isn't compatible with someone who's not, for, you know, from my experiences. So it's like, it becomes more than just the diet and what you guys are eating together. It's like the whole mindset and the whole lifestyle and everything. So yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings. That's real. You know, and I'm seeing that as I progress in my living, that y'all got a lot of knowledge. And had I been where y'all are now at the age that I was then, I'm sure I wouldn't be here having this conversation with you all. I would have probably been in the Himalayas, or maybe in Belize, maybe on the beach of Jamaica, somewhere, but not here talking about getting folks in alignment. And I think that's what makes us who we are as Mucusless diet practitioners, is that we have a passion and a love for life and living. And so when you make that commitment, that's what you are married to. That's your relationship. Your relationship is with living. And when you see people dying, or they're not on that frequency of life, that's where relationships start deteriorating. Because the relationships that I had engaged in prior to this, my children's father, before I became a Mucusless Diet Healing practitioner, I knew my brethren, Victor Bertram, from seeing him as a street musician. He played the saxophone. He was very saxy. on the Saxy, and I thought that he was one of the most powerful men that I had ever met, because this cat could play this saxophone for hours. Do you hear me? We will see this brother in the morning downtown playing all the way till our nightfall. And I mean, he is on his saxophone playing. The capacity to have that much lung power to play like feverishly, and just he's just amazing. And my partner at the time, you know, he had locks, he was rostered, but he wasn't in alignment, you know. He sold ganja. I did for a living. I crocheted, I did food, daycare, help with elders, clean. I did everything you can name, you know, to have some kind of income or make money. But we did really well as a couple. But the cleaner that I started getting, I would ask him to sit. I would read the Mucusless Diet Healing System to him while we was like laid in the bed chilling, and he would listen. And when he would get really ill, I kept a pot of herbs every day, all the time in my house. And it stemmed from my grandmother having doing Alvita as a young girl, and learning about the herbs at a real young age. She had Back to Eden, Jethro Claus, and everybody that I knew during there had that. And then I got a hold of Victoria's Surviving the 21st Century, and he had excerpts of Arnold Ehret. Dick Gregory wrote his, I guess, part of his introduction. He had excerpts from David. Well, he got some excerpts from everybody in his book that at that point in time that were basically into the living. And Surviving the 21st Century was probably one of the most powerful, inspiring books that I had read. And then Cooking with Mother Nature, Dick Gregory, and then shifting and being rational fasting, Mucusless Diet Healing System. Those were the top of my book list. And so I think that any man and woman who have a partner, they may probably give that to them as a gift. You know, how you doing? Nice to meet you. What are you up to? Here you go, happy birthday or Merry Christmas, whatever you into, give them that, you know, and then that can kind of open a little bit of the mindset from where they know where you at, because the guys that I dealt with prior to that, these two of them were like garbage cans. And I was like, okay, look, brother, y'all got to get an enema. They was like, an enema. I was like, yeah, we, you know, just how we gonna have to work this. We gonna like be partners and stuff. And they was looking at me like, you sticking out on my sister, you know, this ain't this kind of party. But my thing was, nah, you know, you gonna be all right. You know, you let the Most High. And I'm giving them all, you know, the things that they need to direct them, to get them to come there. Because I'm like, you can't have no physical relationship with me unless you do this. Because this is how we do this. This is how I learned to keep my body. So,
And that's something to think about, is how fast would this world become mucus free or vegan or raw if women would not have sexual relations unless there was some enemas, and getting the diet together. That'd be talking about
I knew in my heart of hearts, I knew certain sisters and brothers, they had a pre-notion or a judgment about me. Like, you know, she with this cat, I wonder if he doing this or if she doing that. Because, you know, people, they talk about people, and when they get in your face, they saying something totally different. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't worried about what was being said. I'm more so thinking about what is being done. Because if you can point your finger about what I'm doing, then turn it on yourself and look at what you're doing. Because the sisters and the brothers that I love in my community and that I dealt with 100%, I had were introduced, you know, these brothers to them. Two of them I introduced to, you know, the family. And I could tell they were vacillating because their families were not, they wasn't even entertaining the thought. All I knew is that these vegetarian men in their lives now, they went from eating chicken and fried chicken and pork chops and going to family reunions and the picnics and the cookouts to not doing none of that. So their whole life changed before these people's eyes, and it took them for a tailspin. And to have brought them into the fold where they could meet, people that was important in my life, they would get they was getting the support mentally from these people, but from their families, it was like they was being drugged down. So I was like, if it's a tug of war for you, brother, you ain't got to do this. Because the first thing I did is I cut off relationships. I cut off the relation. You can't get up in here because you out there too far. And I don't know where you swimming at, but I know what I smell on. So it was like, all right, sis, that's cool. And I'm like, all right, then do your thing. Because when you know what you're doing, that's going to get you where your finances is low, where you feel sick, where you feel depressed, where you feel like you need to call me and say, hey, look, I'm sorry for X, Y, and Z. I didn't mean to do A, B, and C. I'm like, see ya. I love you, but I can love you from afar. And then the next one, he was in a relations with a younger sister that I used to do like homeschool, home care for. And when they got together, I realized that they were trying to stay balanced doing this work. They didn't have the sincerity. They were not true to themselves. And so it dissipated and detached and they fell completely apart. And I love him to this day and I love her to this day. They're not together. They both have different families. He has a family with her sister and they have Watoto children. And they are okay. Now, in my mind, I asked the sister, how was she and the children? She told me she was eating fish. I was like, oh no. So I already see that right there was, the seesawing effect inside of the relationships where it couldn't and it would not work because they didn't start here, and I was reading a passage from Light on Yoga by I.S. Iyengar, and it says that yoga is the deliverance from pain and sorrow. So when we plug into our breath and we get more plugged into this, literally, we get a chance to really feel and know what it feels like to be in love. Because you don't have to have somebody outside of yourself to love you. When you're ready for that, it's going to appear by itself. You ain't got to go looking for it. It's going to come. And I think where I am with my relationship with the partner that I'm with, he understands that, because he's doing his transition. And I'm like, we can only do certain things to a certain extent because I have pertinent questions, which I should not have to have. But for me right now, that's part of our transition in a relationship. What you doing? What you eating? When the last time you had some bread? So it's like, no, this girl can't have all that yeast up in there because she don't play that, And I'm not trying to figure out how to get my pH and my balance back in here. I have to have that all the time. And my peace of mind, I ain't got no drama. I got a drama-free life. I don't have no stress. When I'm driving down traffic, I'm in the absolute. I am vehicle P minus O, and it's a song all the way from A to B. Ain't no obstruction in my way, and ain't no obstruction coming near me, and I'd be 100%. I got a song with the children, with the little white totos, and that's their mantra. You know, that's their mantra. I want them to have that as like y'all got what y'all know now at the ages y'all are. When they get y'all ages, it ain't gonna be no discussion about none of this. As a matter of fact, it's gonna be dancing and jam sessions.
Mm.
Yeah. By the time she gets your age, it's be jam sessions. We shouldn't be having lectures and stuff. Everybody on the planet supposed to be like in the groove, all
Yeah.
in the groove. Mhm.
Yeah. That's. I mean, this is how it happens. This is what it looks like for people that aren't hip yet, that really don't know what true revolution and transformation looks like, what it feels like. Feast your eyes, because this is what it is. This is what it is what's gonna be. And and so the young people getting together, trying to put together mucus-free family situations. I brought up this when we were talking about relationships, the etymology of the word companion, which literally means breadfellow and messmate. Your companion is one with which you eat, someone you eat with. Panis, panion is literally panis, meaning bread. To feed, so the companion. So that's why this is such an important dynamic and topic to deal with, because and that's why the relationships tend to not work when not in alignment with the diet, because that in so many relationships, when you start to really analyze this from an objective standpoint, and you see that so many relationships are based on eating. It's based on what are you eating, what you doing, like let's go out to eat, let's that it's based on this eating process. And so this is how you change it. This is how people want to know, well, how do we heal the world, and how do we do this and that, what we're talking about. This is how you do it.
That's real. Ashe, all praises.
So let's see if we have any questions, the last second questions. We might take them, and then we will be transitioning off here. Let's see, Erica had a question. Cellulite, and someone was talking about this earlier. The cellulite is also an issue for many women. I'm thinking the enemas, fasting, etc. would help in this regard, but it would be great to hear the panel's thoughts on this. So the topic of cellulite.
Gotta sweat. You can go to any one of the gyms and go to the saunas. It would be better to sweat. And a lot of heavy set people, they don't like to sweat, but that's how you get inside your cells. I watched the sister and Miss Winfrey, when she lost all that weight, she had a lot of cellulite. And I think with those diets and stuff, they really mess a lot of people up. All the heavy set people don't have to, do tummy tucks and all these erratic diets. The best thing to do for an overweight person that got a lot of cellulite is stop eating flesh first. Stop doing that first. Get a hold of an enema bag. Start doing your enemas. Learn how to go inside. If you don't want to get in the tub, run the shower and sweat. If you start getting too hot, come out and sit down and breathe, but go back in and sweat as much as you can, because that's where your cells get a chance to expand, and then they'll dilate, and then they'll start like stretching. You can get your cells correct. Every breath that you get new cells. But all that excess and that waste, it can come off naturally. You have to sweat it out. It's like you melt in flesh. And it was years to get it on there. It's going to be as many, if not 10, 15, 20 more extra years to get it off, but it's going to come off. You got to be a little more aggressive when it comes to getting that poison up out of you. but you gotta sweat.
Also, you can buy saunas, like at-home saunas, like I have, that I bought online. Like if people can't have access to a gym right now, if they're still closed wherever they live, I bought one off Amazon for like $130, and
Oh, wow.
you just set it up. It's like a little tent. It looks like a one-person tent. It comes with a chair. You plug it in. You can put your essential oils in there if you want, whatever you want, and you just sit in there, and you can do it at home. Even easier. They don't even have to leave their house.
Is this one where your head pops up the top, or is this cover the whole?
Yeah, there you go.
Tent?
Nice.
Yeah. So there's a hole for your head, and then 2 armholes for your arms.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, easy.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
All right, my big peoples. I love y'all. Get that sauna now.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Reese. Yeah, he was talking about that the other day.
Yeah.
Then he did sauna. Then Big John, he installed a sauna system in his basement, like a nice,
Right.
yeah, super
That's
nice.
legit.
Oh, wow.
Serious. Yeah.
Amazing.
And my thing is, I always prefer the sunbathing in the real hot sun and just being out in that for hours.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my thing. And,
that's my favorite place. Andrea, when you get a chance, do a little short little movie with you in the sauna.
Oh yeah, well.
I like those little short videos. Those are cute.
Yeah.
Boy, you used to get busy. Boy, you was a busybody boy. That child, woo. She had a bunch of them video. I was going on little video binges. I want to binge with the Mucus-free channel. I watched every last one of them. Then I went on Boye's page. I was doing a binging on her page. I was like, these Mucus-free people getting busy.
hey, this is what's time. This is what's going on. So I want to thank all of you for being on the panel. And I want to give a shout out to Danny. She wanted to be here very bad, but there was a situation that came up. She was unable to make it. So the next time we have one of these, she would definitely be here. And yeah, everybody in the comments, hit show your love to these fine women for being on here. It's been a wonderful, wonderful discussion, and I appreciate each one of you for being here. Mama Takoa, Andrea, and Kyrene. And why don't you go around and we'll start with Andrea. Tell everybody how they can get in touch with you if they want to hang out and plug in.
You guys can find me on Instagram. That's where I'm at. Juice by Dre is my username. I'm sure it'll be in the caption I saw of the YouTube. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, and it's down below in the caption area.
You can find me there. I'm there. I answer messages. I talk to everybody, so you can find me there.
All right, beautiful. And how about you, Kyrene?
So you can find me on Instagram as well. My IG handle is Oshun_Getting.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Are you a mermaid?
And
that little fish right there that just fell off that thing. She said, are you a blue mermaid? She said, no, Mom, I'm a brown mermaid. I was like, oh. Well, everybody know where to contact Mama Takoa at. Check for the Mucus-free network, and then they'll plug you in. I'll come to you. You could be in Kalamazoo and Utah. I will come to you. I will hook you up with a cleanse, enema, protocols. You got it. You can reach me at 404-748-3950. That's my number.
All right, beautiful.
Thank you, Spirit. I love you so much. You are really, really, truly a savior, helping us to save our lives. I love to save the children.
Thank you all so much for what you're doing, putting this positive vibration out here, positive message. It is what this world needs, what humanity needs, because we can't continue the way we are. It's unsustainable, and so we're doing this work. It's hard work, and it's not always an easy path. But the kind of stuff that you heard tonight with the experimentation and trying this out, this is what it's about. This is the work that we have to do now. It's not going to be real easy, and every moment's not going to be roses and fun. This is some work, but we're going to come together and really transform this planet. So I really appreciate the work that women are doing, and all of you are doing out there, Brother Air and Q and Reese and Wolfgang and everybody in the community.
I know that's right. The whole family.
The whole family. We have we have more work to do. So let's get to it.
Hey, can we close the song? What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Okay, enough of that.
Yeah. Well, I was always thought you about what the world needs now is enemas, sweet enemas.
Yeah.
Apples and oranges and lemons.
Yeah, bud. Like that.
All right. So, yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like, give it a share, put this out there. No one else talking about this. I haven't seen anything talking on this level about these topics. So I think it's really important to get the message out there. So again, stay safe.
Thank you.
Do your thing. Get your enemas together. Get your diet together. Get your life together. We're going to transform this world one bite at a time, one enema at a time, one birth at a time. We will transform this planet. So until next time, peace, love, and breath.
Bless you, love. V. Eco P. Minus 4.